Hello everyone, I'm Jonathan Little for PokerNews.com, and again, we get pocket queens. And today we're playing in what I think is a $1,000 buy-in tournament in New Jersey, where we're playing against Chris Moneymaker. So Chris Moneymaker is a player who will definitely splash around with you, but at the same time, if he thinks you are tight, he will make really big folds. Basically, he's a very good exploitative player. He will find holes in your games and then take advantage of it. So, I remember in this day, I was playing particularly tight, and that was mainly just because I had no cards. So here we're playing about 11,000 deep, so about 37 big blinds, and Chris raises under the gun five-handed to 800. So in the hijack, or in the cutoff here, I like to just call with the queens, and typically you should not be calling, you should be 3-betting your best hands, and this is definitely a hand we can 3-bet and very, 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 very happily get all in pre-flop. But because I think Chris is going to fold to a 3-bet a lot, I decided to just call instead. Also, calling allows one of the three players yet to act to 3-bet, which would be a great success. I mean, they may view my call as particularly marginal. If they view that as marginal, they may be more inclined to 3-bet as a bluff. So I do decide to just call, and hey, we get what we wanted. Small blind now makes it 3,200. All right. This is a situation where some players will look at this and say, okay, small blind raise, now I'm afraid, so I should call with my queens and see what the flop comes. Because if it comes with an ace or a king, I can then check fold. The problem with that, though, is that if the player in the small blind has jacks or tens or nines, or say they have king queen, if the flop comes ace something something or king something something and they bet, I don't really know if they have me beat or not, right? You're going to find that even against a somewhat strong range, if it includes stuff like nines or better and ace queen or better, you don't just automatically lose when one or two big cards comes. If it does come with an ace and a king, yeah, I should probably fold. But if it's just one of those, especially if it's just a king, I actually should not be that willing to fold. Because notice if I call 3,200, the pot's going to go up to about 7,000. And I'm only going to have 7,000 behind in my stack. So if my opponent bets, I'm only going to need 33% equity to justify calling due to my pot odds. I'm going to have to put in 7 to win what will be a 21,000 total pot. 7 divided by 21 is about 33%. And I will be. Even on the ace XX boards, I'm not loving that at all. That's particularly bad, but I think we still have to call off. So what's the other alternative to that? Say our opponent does have ace king and it comes like 9-4-2. He may decide to just check fold. Probably not, but maybe. Say he has pocket jacks and it comes king, queen, 3. He may decide to check fold, which would be a disaster for me, right? This is one of these spots where I think we definitely need to go all in, and I think we are going to get called a lot. Our opponent's going to have to put in 7,000 more, I believe, maybe 8, to try to win a pot that's going to be 21. So he needs to win about 33% of the time as well. And pretty much whatever he's re-raising with should have roughly that much equity. Obviously, we're going to be against aces or kings sometimes, or ace-king, and we're going to be flipping. And that is part of life. Do not think that your job in a tournament is to sidestep essentially what are set-up scenarios. Sometimes you're going to run queens into kings, or queens into aces, or aces into kings, and whatever. You're going to lose these hands sometimes. And that is part of life. So let's see what happens this time. I'm definitely going to go all in, I can already tell you that. I do shove, the opponent does call, obviously. And he has aces. And just like that, we lose. So, again, when this happens, do not think you made any sort of horrible, drastic mistake. Do not beat yourself up. Realize, when you have 30 or 40 or even 50 big blinds, when you get aces or kings or queens or ace-king, you should be trying to get your money in. Also, you should be bluffing occasionally here and there. Maybe not in this spot so much. My bluffs are going to look more like pocket nines or ace-queen than they are, 6-5 suited, because I do think I'm getting called here a lot. But sometimes you run into big hands and you're going to lose. Don't let that discourage you. It seems like every day I get an email from someone saying, man, I've lost 6 or 7 tournaments in a row with no cashes. And I always just go, ugh. Because you're supposed to only cash 1 out of every 6 or 7 tournaments to start with. And when you don't, that's just fine. I mean, you're inevitably going to go 30 or 40 tournaments in a row with no cashes. And also, cashing is not even the goal. The goal is to try to win the poker tournaments, because that's when you get a lot of money. If you min cash, it doesn't do you any good, because you turn around and you buy into the next tournament with that money. So understand that you do have to try to get a hold of chips in tournaments. If you play a strategy where you're constantly like calling and then check folding good hands, you're just not going to win. You're going to bleed down. And if you're bleeding down, it means someone is taking that money you're bleeding away. Those are the players who are going to be winning the tournaments, and those are the players who are going to win all the money long term. So that's going to be it for this video for PokerNews.com. No, it's short and sweet. Sometimes you lose, deal with it. Good luck in your games. I'll talk to you next week.